Welcome to All Home Care Matters, the show where we discuss all things home care, with discussions on important age-related matters and topics. Brought to you by Enriched Life Home Care Services, the #1 rated home care provider in Michigan by Top Rated Local.
Hello, and welcome back to All Home Care Matters. If this is your first time visiting us, we want to say thank you for taking time out to be with us today. We appreciate how valuable everyone's time is, and that's why we try and make each episode here at All Home Care Matters something that will hopefully matter to you. Today, we are honored to welcome renowned fashion photographer and founder of UK Health Radio, Johann Ilgenfritz. Welcome, Johann.
Hi, hello, Lance. How are you? Thank you very much for having me.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Johann, I first introduced you as renowned fashion photographer, but then as the founder of UK Health Radio. Listeners and viewers who may not be familiar with your inspirational story may not understand how the two of those go together. Let's start off first with your background in fashion photography, and then we'll lead up to the founding of UK Health Radio.
Mm-hmm.
So, Johann, tell us about your photography history and, the work that you have done there.
I was living in Germany at the time. I did a master's degree in photography and worked as a fashion and beauty photographer in Hamburg in Germany and here in the UK as well. So it was sort of almost a gate opener for me to then later on actually move my family over here and everything. But yeah, it was an amazing time of my life. When you're young and single, being a fashion photographer is wonderful. Later on, when you're married to a wonderful woman with 2 beautiful kids, it's more hard work than anything else, actually. So but as I said, it was fantastic. I did a lot of quite high-profile photography as well for quite a few beauty brands, world-known beauty brands, etc. So wonderful time, yes.
Wonderful. So during your career as a successful fashion photographer, you ultimately received an unfortunate diagnosis. You were diagnosed with cancer. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was at the age of 46. I had a heart attack, first of all, on the tennis court, funnily enough. And I was actually very lucky. It wasn't that the heart attack was so severe or anything, but the person I was playing against was a medical doctor. So he knew exactly what he was looking at and really helped me tremendously and everything. And then 4 months after that, the doctors were still wondering why I wasn't feeling better. I wasn't getting better. I was diagnosed with cancer the first time. I mentioned I split the two because it was two separate diagnoses. And I like separating the two because of my reaction during the first one and my reaction during the second one was so 180 degrees apart from each other that that's the reason why I do this, So the first diagnosis was really it's just emotionally, I'm not talking about the physical aspect of it here, but just the emotional turmoil that I went through was just unbelievable. You hear these stories and you think, why do people react like it? But it just is. It's crazy. I compare it to being in a tumble dryer, literally in an emotional tumble dryer. You don't know where top is or bottom is. I stumbled into radiotherapy. In the end, doing 2 sets of radiotherapy. But I have to admit, during this time, I had the feeling that that something was missing. I wasn't part of the process. That is exactly what it was. Nobody told me what to do or not to do, what to eat or not to eat, whether I could do sport or not do sport. My only duty really was to be there for the treatment. And of course, I did that. And in October of the same year, I was given the cancer all clear. I was cancer free. But that feeling of not being part of the process stayed with me, I have to admit. But you know what it's like when things return to normal, if I could put it that way. When things go back to normal, things go on as normal. So there was no change in anything. Between after the being cancer free and before being diagnosed, nothing changed in any way, which way, shape, or form.
During your diagnosis, you were given just 12 months to live, Johann.
That was the second one.
That
yes,
was the second
that
one.
was during the second one. This was the first one. I was I can't say unlucky, but the first time I was diagnosed was with nodular melanoma, which is a very aggressive form of cancer. It really was. And then the second time, 3 months after, I must actually tell you this because it's quite extraordinary. People don't realize this. People think that skin cancer is a mark that you can live with for your life, etc. There are certain kinds of skin cancers, and funnily enough, both the kinds I had, that can become life-threatening within 6 weeks.
Wow.
And people are unaware of this, because you always hear of the lung cancer, of the stomach cancer, the brain cancer, but a huge percentage of those actually started with skin cancer.
Really?
So yeah, that was in October. In October, I got the all clear, and then in February, during my first post-cancer screenings, I was told that the cancer had returned with a vengeance, had spread. Well, I can't say everything, but almost to my lungs, etc., and lymph nodes as well. And then they said to me, "We're really sorry. We don't, we've never seen anything like this before. We can't do anything for you anymore. And you have plus minus 12 months to live."
Can I stop you right there for a moment? How old were you at that moment? It's 44 or 47, 48?
I was, the first diagnosis, I was 46. So by this time I was 47, yes.
47. And your children were probably still minors, I'm assuming?
Oh, definitely. There's a huge difference between, I have 2 boys, and there's a big difference between the 2 of them. The one was 11 at the second diagnosis. The one was 11 and the other one was almost 3.
So I just want to pause on this moment because I'm relating to this story. I'm not 46 yet. I'm 43, but I have, younger children, and I'm just imagining when you go in, this is a post-cancer follow-up. You've been cured. Now you're going in, and now you get this news. How does the mind comprehend and absorb that? Like, what was that like for you?
It was, of course, it's traumatic. Something like that's always traumatic, especially when you're not expecting it. But I think the first diagnosis and all I went through and everything contributed to my reaction the second time, because my own personal reaction the second time was totally different to the first one. There was no tumble dryer. There was clear thinking. I still remember now to the day. I can remember sitting in my oncologist's office, And I always mention this because between the first time and the second time, the chairs that I was sitting at changed. They went from black leather chairs to white leather chairs. I don't know why that's so important to me, but it is. I remember sitting there, and I can actually, I could hear my own voice in the back of my head screaming at me, it's not going to happen. This 12 months, this dying of cancer is not going to happen. And I was a total different person. It was, and there and then I realized that, okay, Johann, now you have no choice. You have to become part of this process. So because the first option that you were given didn't work. So now you have to go and find another option or options. I had no idea of what they would be. Go out, go home and find the other option or options that you need to stay alive. And that's always why I separate the two, because of my reaction. It was, I did, and I always mention this as well, I made a huge mistake. I went home, I didn't tell my wife about the 12 months to live. I did tell her, of course, that the cancer had returned and everything, but I didn't tell her about the 12 months. Big mistake, because if anybody out there is listening, is going through anything like this, or somebody they know, the emotional support that you get from people, your loved ones, is worth, literally its weight in gold. I would never ever make that mistake again. She did find out after a few months, because I was just getting iller and sicker and sicker and sicker and looking worse and worse and everything. So it comes out in the end in any case. But that was a very big mistake I made. But I went home literally on the same day and started looking for another option. And exactly where everybody says you shouldn't go, the internet. I had no other plan. I just sat down and started searching randomly.
Let me, before we go on, Johann, I wanted to, so for someone that might be watching or listening to this, and even for myself, you have young children, and they're seeing, like you just mentioned, as some of the months started to pass, you kept becoming more ill and you were starting to look sicker. How do you relay this to your children when they probably thought dad was all better before you went and got that second diagnosis?
Especially my eldest son, of course, the younger one didn't really know what was going on, but the elder one, tremendous support. We told him, we just sat him down and told him that this is the position. This is what you can expect. I never said anything about dying because I didn't believe I was going to die myself. But we did say that I might change, lose weight, perhaps not always look the way I used to look, and that we're working on it, very importantly, that we're working on it to get my health improved. So that was how we did that. And the support he showed later on, which I'll mention in a few minutes, I'm sure, was just unbelievable. It's just this little 11-year-old boy changed his whole life to support me. It was unreal.
Wonderful. Beautiful. So when was the moment that things started to turn around towards the positive for you?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I went home, started looking, and it wasn't quick, unfortunately. 7 months into my allotted 12, at this stage, really ill. Just as an example, it took me 20 minutes to walk up 2 flights of stairs at that point. I read a sentence in the internet. And the sentence is, cancer cannot survive in an oxygenated oxygenated alkaline cellular environment. And Lon, I can't explain to you the effect this had on me. It was like I was standing in a pitch dark football field and somebody put on all the floodlights. That second, when I read it, I knew that this was what I'd been looking for. It was actually 2:00 in the morning, and I woke my wife, Rafaela. I woke her, and I literally said to her, Rafaela, I have found a way not to die. And that's how convinced I was of it. Now, this was a quote from a Dr. Warburg. It was a German biochemist. And he actually won a Nobel Prize for this discovery in 1931. So not new news at all, you know. But the whole thing, the whole business about a doctor and the Nobel Prize all gave it that scientific fuel for me, because up until this point I was totally a scientific-based person. There was nothing else that I believed in or even thought about or looked into or anything like that. So that was the moment that I knew, as I mentioned before, I had found a way not to die. And then it went really quickly because it had to.
So it gave you the it gave you the credibility. I mean, a Nobel Prize winning physician. Do you ever wonder why your cancer doctors never suggested or started you on a therapeutic route with that scientific research?
Well, even today, it's almost unknown. Since I've known about it, many people have heard about it, of course, and UK Health Radio, etc. But it's still quite often when I mention it, people go, "Wow, I've never heard of that. Is that possible?" You know. So, and I mean, what that means is basically an alkaline cellular environment. Cancer cannot survive in an oxygenated alkaline cellular environment. What that means, in a nutshell, is your body's pH. Now, your blood pH you can't change. That's regulated by your body. But your pH level in your cells, that you can regulate. And you can do that through lifestyle changes. And this was something literally I'd never heard of before. You know, it's like, and the first thing that, of course, that we tackled was my nutrition. I literally became a vegetarian overnight. That developed into becoming a vegan today, and probably for the rest of my life, I will be an alkaline vegan. So I only eat alkaline foods. And that was the beginning of finding my way, of getting to where I needed to be. And thankfully, and I still really grateful about it, about 3 weeks into this process, I had a surge of energy that I had never experienced before. I tried to explain it in the way that I say, for most people, it probably wasn't more than a 2 or 3 foot swell. But for me, it felt as if I was surfing a tsunami. Wow. And I knew immediately, that just confirmed my belief in this, that I was doing the right thing. I was going in the right direction. You know, so, and even that's what I mentioned, even my oldest son, 11 years young, he became a vegan to support me in it. So unbelievable.
That's wonderful.
Of course, my wife as well, but yeah, even my 11-year-old boy.
That's a beautiful story. And so as your life is starting to change and you're adding months and years onto this 12-month diagnosis, what are your doctors saying? They got it so wrong. You know, thankfully they got it so wrong. When you're going back and you're going from a very sick, ill-looking person to now starting to transform back into a healthy-looking, 47-year-old. How were they responding to you?
No, the response with my oncologist was very good. I stayed in the system because I wanted to do the tests, keep on being tested, etc., with the screenings and everything. She did help me with information as well, even though it was from a private email address and not from her work email address anymore. But that doesn't matter. It literally plays no role if that's what she has to do to protect her position and her job and her career. That's what she did, and I got no problems with that. But definitely, I did get support from her from an information point of view, and of course, we carried on doing the tests and everything else.
That's wonderful. So you've gone through these two different diagnoses, and now you've changed your lifestyle, changed your nutrition. You have the beautiful support of your family. When did the light bulb go off and say, you know what, we need to start UK Health Radio?
Actually, pretty quickly after my tsunami surfing, we then progressed and we carried on, and we realized that it's not only nutrition, it's toxic overload, it's stress, it's all plays a part in acidifying your body. So it's wow, it's all out there, and we all experience this on a daily basis.
Right.
And that's basically what it wasn't even a UK Health Radio. In the beginning, it was I wish there was a platform where I could have gone to, even if it was just after the second diagnosis and not even after the first one, but after the second one, and found this information so that I could just do it, get into it and get it done. So, and that was basically the birth of UK Health Radio. Was I wanted to create. I couldn't work as a photographer at that stage anymore because I was just too ill, So, and I wanted to create a platform where people could go to. Of course, in the beginning, it was cancer almost only, if I could put the idea, because of my situation. And I actually did use the radio in the beginning to gather information for myself still, because this is not a quick fix. It took me 2.5 years to get rid of the cancer, all in all. So it's not a quick fix. But yeah, that was the birth of UK Health Radios, again, it was it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when I woke when I woke Raphael, and I said to her, "I'm going to start a radio station." and I must admit, she didn't say, "Are you mad? It's 2 o'clock in the morning." She said, "I'm sure you will." And we did. And I say we because of the tremendous support I've gotten from her. Concerning the health issues and the UK Health Radio and everything else. And it's a funny story that I have no background in radio whatsoever. I've just always found it as a very personal medium. And there's another quite funny story behind it. Is the main radio music station in Hamburg is called Radio Hamburg, and they have a jingle. It works really well in German, but translated into English, you'll get the drift. It says, "Radio goes in your ears and the message stays in your head." Yeah. Now, as I said, in German, it's really quite catchy and everything. But the crux of the matter is that's why I then I thought internet radio. I didn't want FM and AM and all this. I wanted worldwide. Right. Internet radio, and that's literally how it started. Yeah,
that's beautiful. I just before we go on and talk about the Health Triangle magazine and more about UK Health Radio, your 11-year-old son, how old is he now?
He's on the 1st of October. He's 24.
Well, happy birthday to him. But the reason I asked Johann, he's in a very impressionable age at 11. Seeing his father go through 2 cancer diagnoses, become very ill, on the crux of passing away. You were a renowned fashion photographer. Then you've now got this very supportive and just remarkable radio platform. What's his profession?
it definitely had a huge impact on him. In his final year of becoming, in his fifth year, of becoming a naturopathic practitioner.
That's why I asked the question. Well, tell him congratulations. Yeah. That's remarkable. And I'm sure he'll have his own show on UK Health Radio too, right?
I've offered it. His decision whether he wants to do it or not. But yeah, I'm very proud of him. He's just done so well, and as I said, had his support from day one, and still do so. Fantastic.
Well, I think he will, and I know you'll agree as a father, but also as a cancer survivor, I think he's going to make a phenomenal naturopathic physician because he's experienced it firsthand, and he can relate to sometimes some of these doctors, and nothing against them, but oftentimes it's harder to relate to your patient if you don't have that experience and know what really goes on day to day and hour to hour in those homes when you're dealing, as a cancer patient or, family of a cancer patient. So I think he's going to be a remarkable physician, and he's going to do tremendous work. So let's go back to UK Health Radio, but I wanted to ask you about the Health Triangle magazine.
Yes. Well, the Health Triangle magazine actually came about a year after UK Health Radio. I thought that I'm sure there would be people out there that would rather read even more in-depth information, read into something, or just people that prefer to read than listen. So for me, it was just another way of getting our information out. Yeah. So that was, and I get accused of trying to turn the UK Health, the Health Triangle magazine into a fashion magazine quite often. But I just want to tell you it's not the case. Raffaella is a world famous designer. Oh. So very lucky in that, from that point of view. And she has created the Health Triangle magazine, which is none of this light blue and gray
depressing
medical magazine images. This thing literally looks like, from a color point of view, it's a lifestyle magazine 100%, but it's from cover to cover is only health. There's nothing else in there, so, but it's vibrant, it's happy, it carries the ethos of UK Health Radio as well. I ask only two things of my presenters, and that is that everything is done in an ethical way and in a positive manner. Positivity plays such a big role. People don't realize that when you are ill and all you read is doom and gloom, it doesn't help you. Not even close.
It's like the Hamburg radio, when all you hear is doom and gloom, or you see it, it stays in your head, and then it affects every aspect of your life. No, I agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, it's and our shows are all like that. We started with one show on the wonkiest website you've ever seen in your life before. In the beginning, in the first 3 months, we had 2 listeners. I was one of them, and I'm sure Raffaella was the other one. She's never admitted it to me, never ever. But yeah, and today we have 1.2 million people listening. We have 41 presenters, so and all of them are positive. All of them work towards helping people, informing people. We don't tell people what to do, neither on the radio nor in the magazine. We deliver the latest information that we can lay our hands on in a positive manner. Very important, and that's how it is. Even things on UK Health Radio that I personally don't agree with from a health point of view, but that doesn't prevent UK Health Radio from putting the information out there.
You're not
correct. That information might be like my little sentence I read. That information might be vital to their recovery and their whole emotional state of mind and everything. So yeah, we really try very hard to do that all in a positive manner and animate people to become part of their health process.
Right.
Very important. We don't say take your health into your own hands, because that we're not health professionals either, most of us.
Right.
We're just normal people, but be part of that process. Look into things, question doctors, question nutritionists, question the food industry, question everything if you need to, if that's going to help you.
Right. Well, and there was a thing on the radio the other day about some controversial new prescription drug that got approved here in the United States. And I was listening to it. I didn't have an opinion one way or the other, but one of the medical researchers who was on being interviewed about it is against this medication. And he said, let's look back 50 years ago. They encouraged you to smoke cigarettes. There's all these things that, the healthcare community said was fine and it's okay. And then it's only so many years later, all of a sudden you're finding out those things are linked to cancer and to all these other things, and I agree with you, Johann. I mean, when you get into the quote unquote system of healthcare, sometimes you're just a number, and, it's not a one size fits all. We all are made up of different, genetics and DNA and all these other things. And if you don't speak up for yourself, or if you don't have somebody there that can help you speak up for yourself, you're never going to get listened to.
Absolutely. Very, very, very important point that you've just mentioned, that have somebody there to help you, to speak up with you as well, or even prompt you to speak up about it. That is so important. That's why I always mention that the biggest mistake I ever made was not to tell Rafaela right from the word go about this. It is that, because that's caregiving. That is caregiving at its best, and unpayable. You can that animation to inform yourself is what it's about. For me, is what it's about.
Absolutely. I want to, before we move on, I want to just talk about that original wonky website you mentioned, UK Health Radio, and we're going to have it up here on the screen and show some video of it. But you guys just relaunched a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago?
Yes, about 2 weeks ago. We
beautiful.
only announced it a week ago because we still had a few bugs to fix that.
And I encourage everybody to go look at it. It's a beautiful, beautiful website. I'm sure it took quite a while to get it exactly the way you wanted it. And with you and your wife's fashion background, it definitely comes across. And, I just want to touch on a few things here. We have several friends that their shows are also on UK Health Radio, the Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver, our good friend Pete Hill, who introduced you and I on the D Word, and then our friends at All's Authors. These are all wonderful, wonderful people. And like you said, most of them are just, regular everyday people. They're not medical professionals in any sense, but they've lived it and they've experienced it. And they're taking what they've learned through their experience and sharing it through their show and through UK Health Radio. And, you really, I don't know if you would describe it this way, but there's really a show for pretty much anything and anyone on UK Health Radio, in my opinion.
Absolutely. We really, we try and have the most diverse information, in-depth information. And it's not only at the top, skin deep. This is some of the information is really in-depth. We have certain areas of health where we have allocated shows for, as you mentioned, dementia, caregiving as well, that kind of cancer, of course, definitely, diabetes. And then we have a few shows which we call like magazine style shows, where they cover a few different topics. But yeah, we look at, when it comes to content, that's my job. That's what I do at UK Health Radio. And we receive about 300 to 400 to 500 emails a day from listeners requesting information about something. And I look at those emails, and we actually make lists of them. And then we look at the lists to find, to see which information is the most needed, if I could put it that way, is the most requested. And then I go and I look for a presenter, a health professional, or a practitioner or whatever, in whichever area. We then actually train them a little bit as a radio presenter, but that's not what this is about. This is about the information they can bring. It's not about being a good radio presenter either. But we do train them a little bit, and that's how we have built up from one show to 41 shows, built up the catalog. And we have, for each show, we have up to 18 months worth of audio on our Listen on Demand. So at the moment, we have about 4,000 hours of information on the website by itself.
Wow. How do you do you think you'll always be adding new shows, or do you think once you have all the topics that you want to have covered that your current presenters will be able to handle that?
No, it's there are 168 hours in a week, and I would love to have 168 shows one day, because there's so many. We have, for example, when it comes to cancer, we usually have 3 shows at the moment. There are only 2 airing. The one series is finished, so we have a pure oncology show, and we have at the moment, still airing at the moment, is an integrative approach. It's an amazing show done by actually a charity here in Robin Daly is the person who created the charity, Yes to Life. He lost his daughter to cancer as well, many years ago though, and he is of the mindset of that integrative approach, very similar to what I went through, not knowing about it, using both sides of the spectrum to get through it. And then, of course, we, as I said, the one show is the series is finished, but that's a pure natural health cancer show only. So I think that, and even if it's the same topic, you have somebody else doing it. There's a different angle on it. They know different people. They have different guests to invite, etc., etc. So. Yes, as I said, my goal is one day to have, instead of 41 or 42, there's actually 42 slots, but the one show is 2 hours and the rest are all 1 hour. That's why I say 41 shows, is to have 168 different health shows on UK Health Radio.
That's wonderful. Really, I'm just so happy for you, Johann. 2 reasons, just the beautiful family you have, what you've gone through, and how you've came out the other side of it. And you've taken that experience and you're trying to now, instead of being in photography, you're helping everyone else through their healthcare issues that they're facing. And it's commendable. What's next for UK Health Radio? What's there left to do?
Yeah. Oh, lots. We launched beginning of this year, we launched onto 15 podcast platforms. So you could, under the UK Health Radio umbrella, you can literally, on your preferred podcast platform, listen to all our shows every week. So everything that goes onto the radio, that airs on the radio, and that's added to our Listen on Demand section on the website, is also available on podcast. At the moment, I'm actually looking into planning a health mastermind. I think that could be of great service to people, to individuals that perhaps don't have the support I had through my family, that need support through myself and through other mastermind members. I honestly think that there's a huge what is the word? There's this. It's needed. It really is needed, because many people are out there by themselves doing what I did all by themselves. Not funny, not easy, and it shouldn't be. So if we could, if I could at all help by creating a mastermind with something like that, I think It won't be as widespread, of course, as the radio is and the podcasts and the whatever, but it's more intimate, and it has to be, I think, in this case. So, but yeah, I've actually been planning, looking at a structure for something like that.
That's wonderful. And I think you're right. I think it's very much needed. And, you know, our philosophy with the families, not with our show, but with the work we do here in the community, we do support groups for, you know, families and caregivers, and there's no charge. And we just have the place where they can come and talk about what they're going through and give them some resources and just let them know they're not alone, right? I mean, I think that's a big factor. But our philosophy is if it's helping one person, that's why we're doing it, you know, is that one person that we're helping just to make it a little bit easier and, you know, better for them. I want to close with just two more questions, if you don't mind. And thank you so much for your time today and your friendship. I've really enjoyed it. And I just think you're such a remarkable person and inspiration, as is your family. If you don't mind, and you don't have to answer this, we can pass and go to the last question, but do you have one favorite show on UK Health Radio?
No. Really difficult. They are, of course, the cancer-related shows will always be very close to my heart. I can't answer that because I listen to all our shows. I have to. In any case, I think it's part of my job. I listen to all the shows, not every single one of them, but I try and listen to all the shows at least in 1 week. It's really the diversity on UK Health Radio is what I love so much, because there's something for everybody. Literally something for everybody, from a health tech hour show that really talks about the technology, the AI of health, you know, the apps and the stuff, which all the way through to really deep emotional trauma helping shows that for people that are in dire straits and that kind of thing. So I think, it's, as I said, it's not possible for me to say that, but I think that diversity is what I love the most about it.
See, by not answering it though, you answered it, Johann, and I'm going to give you the answer. But you said it when you responded. They're all your favorite because they're all doing something unique that's helping people in those circumstances that they're facing. So I think the answer is all 41 of the presenters. My last question is, when we talk again, and we're going to stay in touch, but if we talked again 5 years from today, where's UK Health Radio, the Health Triangle magazine, your healthcare mastermind? What's your goal? Where do you plan to be at in 5 years?
I actually get asked that quite a lot. And my answer is there is no ceiling for me. I learned with the photography a long time ago that if goals are wonderful and you need goals to achieve certain areas, but quite often goals turn into ceilings, into boundaries. And I really try and stay away from that. I have 1 million listeners. I want 1 billion listeners, or 8 billion. We're 8 billion people on the planet. Why should I stop before everybody's heard of us?
Yeah. Same
with the magazine. Bigger, more pages, more information. Of course, if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. But it's just, I think what we've created is quite unique, and I want everybody now. Well, one of my mantras that I have is to put UK Health Radio into every dwelling on the planet. So not villa or house or city apartment dwelling. And the extension of that is to have every person in every dwelling listen to us, or at least know of us, so that when they do need us, they know where to find us.
That's beautiful. Well, Johann Ilgenfritz, and I hope I did that right. We appreciate you, my friend, and just keep doing the tremendous work you guys are doing. And anytime we can help be of support to UK Health Radio, we're an email away. Let us know, and I hope we can talk again in the future.
Thank you so much, Lance, and thank you. I just wanted to thank you for everything you do, and you and the people that you work with do. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Johann. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today here at All Home Care Matters. All Home Care Matters is here to help families as they navigate these long-term care issues. We invite you to visit us at allhomecarematters.com, where there's a private, secure, fillable form where you can give us feedback, show ideas, or if you have questions. Every form is read and responded to. And remember, you can listen to the show on any of your favorite podcast streaming platforms or watch the show on our official YouTube channel. Just make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. We'd also like to say thank you again to Johann Ilgenfritz for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next time here at All Home Care Matters.
Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to you joining us again on another episode of All Home Care Matters. To learn more about the show and to connect with us, visit us at allhomecarematters.com.